At no time to get rid of personal items that his wife would have taken with her if she was staying with a friend, as Chris Watts was claiming.
August 13th, 2018. A Monday morning in Frederick, Colorado. Nicole Atkinson pulls into her friend's driveway, expecting a routine doctor's appointment. Instead, she's about to trigger an investigation that will expose one of the most shocking family murders in American history. Within 48 hours, a husband's desperate television plea will be revealed as a performance. A father's tears will be exposed as lies, and 3 bodies will be pulled from an oil field, marking the end of what the world thought was a perfect family. This is the story of the Watts family murders, and this is how it all unraveled. The vanishing. Shanann Watts was 15 weeks pregnant. She had 2 daughters, Bella, 4 years old, and Celeste, 3. To anyone following her social media, the Watts family seemed to have it all. A beautiful home, 2 adorable children, a baby boy on the way. But on that Monday morning, when Nicole knocked on the door, no one answered. Shanann had returned from a business trip to Arizona late the night before.
So, my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
Right. Her flight landed after midnight. Security footage shows her friend dropping her off at 1:48 a.m. She walked into her home, pulling her suitcase behind her. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. When Nicole couldn't reach her, she called the police. Officers arrived at 10:13 a.m. They walked through the house with Chris Watts, Shanann's husband, who had just returned from work. Everything looked normal. Almost too normal. Shanann's car was in the garage, her purse on the counter, her phone, her keys, her medication. The girl's medication was there too, still on the kitchen counter. Shanann was obsessive about their health. She would never leave without it. Chris told officers he'd left for work early, around 5:15 that morning.
I went to work this morning about 5:15, 5:30.
He said Shanann was supposed to go to a friend's house after they'd had an emotional conversation about separating. He seemed confused, concerned. He made calls. He cooperated with every question. To the officers standing in that house, he looked like a worried husband and father. That evening, Chris stood in front of local news cameras. He wore a Metallica t-shirt, his hands clasped in front of him. His voice cracked as he spoke. "I just want them back," he said.
And Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back.
Thousands of people watched that interview. They shared it. They prayed for the safe return of Shanann and those little girls. But something was already wrong. Very wrong. And a neighbor's security camera had captured evidence that would change everything. The investigation. Nate Trinistich lived next door to the Watts family. When police asked if he had any security footage, he showed them something disturbing. His camera had a clear view of the Watts driveway. That morning, at 5:27 a.m., it captured Chris's truck leaving the house. The truck sat unusually low, heavy with weight. 13 minutes later, it returned, riding higher. He backed into the garage, obscuring the camera's view. Then, at 5:46, he left again for work. The truck was still sitting low. Detective Tammy Lee reviewed the footage over and over. She watched Chris's news interview again. His body language bothered her. When he talked about his wife and daughters, he used past tense. She was a great mom, not is, was. When asked about the last time he saw his girls, his eyes darted away. He touched his neck, a self-soothing gesture people make when they're lying. Detective Lee had seen this before. This wasn't a worried father. This was a guilty man pretending. The investigation moved fast. Financial records revealed the Watts family was drowning in debt, medical bills, credit cards, mortgage payments they couldn't afford. Shanann's multi-level marketing business wasn't covering their expenses, despite her social media posts suggesting otherwise. The perfect life was a facade. Then investigators found something else. Text messages, Google searches, a woman's name, Nicole Kessinger. Chris had been having an affair with a coworker. For 2 months, he'd been telling her he was separated, that his divorce was almost final. He'd been searching for apartments. He'd told Nicole he wanted a fresh start, a new life.
This is a woman who worked with Chris Watts, and his story to her was that he was separated in the process of a divorce, which we all know now is far from the truth.
Without his family. On Tuesday, August 14th, detectives asked Chris to take a polygraph test. He agreed immediately, still playing the part of the cooperative husband. But as the questions began, everything changed. He failed, spectacularly. When the polygraph examiner told Chris he'd failed, the mask started to slip. His father was brought into the interrogation room.
Polygraph. Failed it.
Detective Graham Coder leaned across the table. "Chris, you're not acting right. You're not behaving like a man whose family is missing. Tell us the truth. Tell us what really happened." What came next was a confession, but it wasn't the truth. Not yet. Chris broke down and admitted he killed Shanann, but he had a story ready.
I put my hands around my wife's neck and did that same thing.
He claimed that after he told her he wanted a separation, he saw her on the baby monitor strangling their daughters. He said he went into a rage and strangled her in response. He said he then drove to a remote oil site where he worked, buried Shanann in a shallow grave, and stuffed his daughters' bodies into oil tanks. It was a horrifying admission, but detectives knew immediately something was wrong. A father who just witnessed his daughters being murdered wouldn't describe the scene so calmly. He wouldn't have the presence of mind to methodically dispose of bodies, and the timeline didn't work. Chris led police to the oil field. It was the same site captured in the security footage, the same place his truck had driven that morning, heavy with weight. Officers found Shanann first, buried in a shallow grave, her body wrapped in a sheet. Then they found Bella and Celeste. Their small bodies had been pushed through 8-inch hatches into oil tanks filled with crude oil. They'd been submerged for days. The autopsy results destroyed Chris's story completely. Shanann died from manual strangulation. The forensic evidence showed she fought back, scratching and clawing at her attacker. But the most devastating finding came from the girls' autopsies. They had oil in their stomachs. That meant they were still breathing when they were pushed into those tanks. And Shanann's stomach contents proved she died first, hours before Chris claimed. He didn't kill her in a rage after seeing his daughters murdered. He murdered her first. Then, he killed them. Investigators dug into Chris's phone and computer. His search history was chilling. Days before the murders, he Googled, "How long does it take to die from smothering? What happens when you strangle someone? Can you die from being submerged in oil?" He looked up the lyrics to Metallica's Battery, a song about destruction and violence. He'd been planning this. Text messages showed him lying to Shanann in the days before her death. He love-bombed her, telling her he missed her while she was in Arizona, that he couldn't wait for her to come home, all while planning to murder her. In November 2018, Chris Watts pled guilty to 9 counts, including 3 counts of first-degree murder. He took the plea to avoid the death penalty. He was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. But the question remained, what really happened that night? In February 2019, from prison, Chris finally told the truth. According to his second confession, Shanann arrived home after midnight on August 13th. Chris was waiting. They went to their bedroom and began arguing about the separation. She asked if he was having an affair. He admitted it. She said she was going to fight for him, for their family. And that's when Chris made his decision. He couldn't face a divorce, couldn't face custody battles and child support. So he strangled her on their bed. She fought. She scratched his neck and face, but eventually she stopped moving. He loaded her body into his truck, backing into the garage to hide it from the neighbor's camera. Then Bella woke up. She came downstairs and asked where Mommy was. Chris told her Mommy was sick. He told both girls they were going to see her. He loaded them into the truck with their mother's dead body beneath a blanket in the truck bed. He drove 45 minutes to the oil site. When he arrived, he took Bella out first. He walked her to the oil tanks, and then he smothered her with his bare hands. Celeste saw everything. She cried. She begged. He killed her too. Bella's last words, according to Chris, were, "Daddy, no, Please, Daddy, no. He pushed their small bodies through 8-inch hatches into tanks filled with crude oil. Then he buried Shanann in a shallow grave nearby. He drove back home, showered, and went to work. When Nicole showed up that morning, he played the worried husband. When police arrived, he played the concerned father. When the cameras came, he played the devastated family man begging for his wife and daughters to come home. It was all a lie. During his sentencing, Shanann's parents gave victim impact statements. Her mother Sandra described Bella's giggles, Celeste's hugs, Shanann's excitement about baby Nico. Her father, Frank, looked directly at Chris and said he forgives him, but the question of why would haunt them forever. The case captivated the nation. Millions tried to understand how a father could look into his daughter's eyes and choose to end their lives. How a husband could erase his pregnant wife to start fresh with a new girlfriend. Chris Watts is currently serving his sentence in Wisconsin prison. He receives fan mail from women who believe he was wrongly convicted. He gives occasional interviews, still trying to control the narrative. But the evidence doesn't lie. The surveillance
reminds us that evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it looks like the man next door, standing in front of cameras, asking for his family to come home. If you found this case as disturbing and compelling as we did, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We dive deep into the most notorious true crime cases, bringing you detailed investigations, psychological analysis, and the untold stories behind the headlines. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below and let us know, what case should we cover next?